Rick, so great to see you. The
Good
title,
morning.
good morning. The title of this episode is going to be Resistance is a Major Cause of Suffering. You go.
Well, this is very timely. I'm in the process in my office of changing out all my old equipment for new equipment, new computers, including laptops, desktops, iPad, all new software, and some brand new software I'm unfamiliar with that I'm having to learn, a time management software program. And you can tell by my gray hair, I didn't grow up with tech. It scares me. It's like a ball of confusion. When I have to learn something new in tech, I think, okay, I have to set aside 2 hours to be frustrated, and I can't have any heavy objects for fear I'll throw them at the wall after I realize I'm so foolish and stupid that I can't even open something. Okay, so my start point with tech, when you say, hey, we're going to learn a new program in tech, it's this great my feeling is cringe and I want to run away. So that's a classic example. My resistance to tech is a resistance to an unpleasant situation. At least that's what I've classified it as. And as a result, what happens is I start tensing up. I get nervous. I get anxious. I start disliking my life. And I become one suffering dude. I'm just suffering through the whole time of it. So the thing that that I came up with this week is I was realizing, my resistance to tech is really the cause of my problem. It's not tech. Tech doesn't give a damn. It's just sitting there. You can either use it as a tool or you can just use it as some sort of red flag enemy, like you're a bull seeing a matador and wanting to just resist, 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 which in turn creates all kinds of nonsense in me. It creates a feeling of what I don't want. So I just thought that the resistance idea is important because it's not tech for you, maybe, but it might be something else. It might be having to meet your girlfriend's parents. It might be having to talk to the PTA teacher at your kid's school when you know your kid's not doing as well as you'd like. It might be having to face the coach, after you went on a bender and you can't perform and you're hungover and it's your fault and the coach wants to know what the hell's going on. I mean, go down the list of things that bother people, and it's always, in my judgment, a resistance to what we consider or classify as an unpleasant situation that's the cause of our personal suffering. So the recognition of that gives you the choice to decide, am I going to suffer or am I not going to suffer? And as far as tech is concerned, my solution to this is to reconceptualize how I look at tech.
Love it.
If I can do that, then I can eliminate suffering, at least with that one example. I have a lot of resistance to a lot of things, and that's part of a reason why humans, and me in particular, suffer as much as we do.
Yeah, Rick, I couldn't agree more. I mean, when I have suffered the most, resistance is somewhere in the mix. It
Yeah.
is. Resistance, avoidance, it's all the same thing, in my opinion. And I can think about it in relationships that, you know, weren't going well, and I didn't want to accept it, and I resisted the reality of what was actually happening. It was suffering, immense suffering. And that's one way, certainly, to go.
That's one way to do it.
Yeah, it's one way to do it. Most recently, I had a manager or a report up to who asked me to do something. And I remember, not wanting to be told to have to do this, and I felt like I was adding value in another way, and this is going to cut in the time that I had to do that. What I enjoyed to do most, what I thought brought value, and I used my practice, and shortly thereafter, I accepted that this is the way it is. And before you know it, possibilities and steps open up. And I came up like that. Once I let go of resistance, I came up like that. A software application, some technology that may uh, be a great partner, a great tool in addressing what the manager was asking me to do. Just like that. I
Mm.
mean, it's hanging out there. It's there for you to just grab and use immediately. I mean, right there. It didn't cost me anything in terms of money. It was right there. I found tutorials to help me learn it from just how to turn the software on, how to launch it. I mean, it starts from those basics, but that wouldn't have happened if I would not have given up the resistance to it. One of our great friends, John, he had a situation at work regarding robotics, in which someone thought that, robotics wasn't around when he first started his medical, practice and training and, developing his craft. And initially, he might have resisted, but now since he has accepted it, he is crushing robotics in the operating room, crushing it. I mean, we're talking about hitting dingers all over the place. And that just came from letting go of resistance to acceptance. And so when I think about that, I think about it is literally a choice. And some people will make it into a big thing. But if you just try it on, what would it be like if I gave up resistance? What could I do? Even in the most daunting situations, there's still something that can be done. For me, in this example I gave, it was just literally developing, getting a software application and putting it to work, and now it's going well. It was the same thing when I didn't swim. I had resisted water, as you know, forever. And then when I finally, and I had a lot of excuses, none of it being that I can't swim, which was the truth. But when I chose to accept that I couldn't swim, and I wanted to do something about it, there was you and a lot of friends supporting me, and there was a great coach who helped me learn how to swim and do a triathlon in the ocean a year and a half later after taking lessons. And then, bring us to what's happening today in the United States. I mean, 4 years ago, there was a change in the highest office that people resisted, and they suffered for 4 years. Here we are, in which there's going to be turnover and a change in the highest office 4 years later. And there are going to be people who are going to, without being conscious of it, are choosing to suffer for another 4 years. Well, I saw that movie 20 years ago. I refuse to live that movie over again, regardless of who's in office, because I still have some agency here. And
Mhm.
the agency that I have is I can be kind every single day
Mhm.
to everybody I come in contact with, regardless of what their choices are, what path they're on. I can still be kind. And I can still give up being resistant to things. And so I love this idea, Rick, about resistance being a major cause of suffering. I have a few friends right now who are going through some things at work and at home, and I am sitting there watching them suffer. And I'm like, it doesn't have to be that way. It really doesn't have to be that way. So, Rick, why don't you close us out on this topic?
Mhm. It's a beautiful idea. I love the notion that something is just hanging out there, and all you have to do is open to that idea, like you said with the software application. And now it's become something that's important and productive and something you resisted, which now is a tool in helping you. I think that's a beautiful example of reconceptualizing something as unpleasant and looking at just the opportunity to connect with what might be a solution. And we do that first by stopping resistance. We just say, okay, this is it. Reconceptualize whether it's something that is unpleasant or not. Maybe it's not. Maybe there's a source of humor for it. Maybe there's a source for you expanding your way of looking at life. Maybe in the example of presidential politics, you'll come up with your own ideas that maybe build on something you thought before, and now it's changed because of something new that's come up. Not necessarily agreeing with the new president, but maybe something looking at an issue a little more deeply that might have some value to you, that if you allow it not to be unpleasant, can be helpful for you in the long run, just as what you said about your software program. So the idea of giving up suffering starts with the notion of reconceptualizing what is unpleasant and then deciding that it's not going to be something that you need to resist. It's something you need to open to and see what happens.
Absolutely, Rick. I mean, you said it before, none of this matters, and, and it's all going away.
It's all going away, brother.
So if you so your time from now to when that becomes true for you, and it will be true for all of us, how do you want to spend that time?
Yeah.
Do you want to spend that time making everything an adversary. All of life an adversary. Well, if you do, be my guest. It's not what I'm choosing. And or you can make a different choice and just have a really beautiful life. You mentioned the masterpieces that we can, lend our artistry to and in an effort to create. And our life is one of those things. But you don't have to. I mean, you can carry on just like you've been doing if that's okay with you. Yeah, I'm so glad that it's not for me, Rick. And being surrounded by you and all of our friends, man, is such a blessing for me to stay on this path, man. It's a beautiful path. Thank you, Rick.
Thank you, Keith. You keep me on my path too, brother. I sure appreciate being with you.
You're
I love
welcome.
you.
I love you too.
I'll see you next time.
See you next time.